Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got Kyle Finley with us today. Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. So today's a little bit different. We're going to be talking to Kyle. He's part of a prop tech company that helps with just kind of Internet of Things, home automation, things like that. So I'm just really curious as a geek myself to learn about what's going on in the prop tech world. It's actually a space I'm looking to perhaps invest in the nearest future, as we kind of grow our portfolio. So Kyle, just kind of tell us a little bit about your product, the name, and just a little bit more about it, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for that intro. So I work with Arize. We're a smart apartment technology company. So we manufacture everything in-house, everything from the devices and the software. So as far as the hardware, that includes things like smart locks. We have smart water leak detectors. We'll be releasing smart thermostat, lighting control systems, smart smoke detectors, things like that. So they're really aimed at both increasing NOI and property value, and then also helping with operational efficiencies. So that's really what we're aimed to do. I work a lot with investors to show the value in implementing a suite of smart tech products, depending on the property type that they're investing in. And then on the flip side of that, we work a lot with property managers, just looking at how we can increase operational efficiencies and also increase NOI for their owners.
So awesome. I mean, I was just taking some notes. So yeah, a lot going on there. And for those who, maybe don't have apartment, just kind of dumb it down a little bit for us here. So you talked about the smart lock and the smart thermostat. So similar to like a Nest, right? In like what I have in my house, like a smart lock, similar to where you just put a code in front of your door. I think this is really big in like Japan and places like that, right? They're very into home automation. So just kind of tell folks why they should have something like this if they have an asset, like an apartment building, for instance, or just generally. I mean, why do we care to have? I mean, we've been living our lives right before technology came around, right? So why do I need to have a smart lock? Why do I need to have a smart thermostat, or even a smart home? Frankly.
So what we see a lot in real estate trends, it is a slow moving kind of industry in general. But what we're seeing is market demand from residents. So as you know, we started with things like your Google Home, your Echo Dots, where people like that connectivity to the internet. We find that more and more things, trends that start in Class A type properties that have the funds, and they're kind of testing the waters with different types of technology. They're implementing things like this, like smart tech within the units. So the market has started to demand that, and we find a lot of that through the research that we do in this space. And so, for somebody that has a property, let's say you've got a B or C class property, it's 100 units, and you're looking to bump NOI a little bit. How are you going to do that? You want to raise rent a little bit. So let's just take implementing smart locks, water leak detectors, and say like a smoke detector. Um, and we want to raise rent $20 a month per unit. So at that, you're increasing your annual rental premium by about $24,000. And so if you have a building that's sitting at a 5 cap, you could expect your property value to increase by about $480,000. And so your OpEx is going to be about 6 grand a year. It's $5 a month per unit on 100 units. It's going to be 6 grand. So between if you subtract your OpEx costs from that property value increase, you'd be netting about $474,000. Um, so that's on an existing property. If you've got a new development, obviously you can build that into your pro forma to show that just by adding this and increasing the rent by X amount of dollars, you can prove that your property value increase would be X amount of dollars. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of numbers, and I'm sure if I'm in my car listening to this conversation, you totally like I don't have my calculator out, you lost me. So let's try to let's try to kind of narrow it a little bit. So, how am I going to raise my NOI with say a water leak detector, right? In real life, right? Away from the spreadsheet. How does that help me as a property owner, an investor? How does that actually help me increase the NOI, which obviously in turn increase the value of the property? So just kind of get a little bit tactical, so folks
Yeah.
can really understand the value of this.
So there's two ways to look at it. You can either put hard numbers by being able to increase rent to increase your NOI. But in the case that say you're in an area where you can't really increase rent, or maybe you can only increase rent $5, we're going to look at operational efficiencies. Where can we reduce expenses? And so in turn, you're inadvertently increasing your NOI, right? So with things like smart water leak detectors, it's more of a proactive preventative measure for your property. So say you have an asset and it's prone to water leaks, and it just has been for a while, or maybe it's not. By putting these things in place, not only will the tenant get a real-time alert that there's a water leak and letting them know where it's at within their unit, but your property management team, or if you're an owner operator yourself, you'll get that notification in real time as well. So a lot of times we see tenants, there'll be a water leak in the bathroom. They're not going to say anything to the leasing office. They're not going to say anything to the property management team. So if you're able to get that notification on your operations side, you can go check that out right away, give the resident a call. Hey, we noticed that there's something there. Can we send someone out to check it? So if you're able to get ahead of the curve and prevent tens of thousands of dollars in water damages down the road, then you are reducing your expenses annually.
Fascinating. So let's go into a unit in an apartment complex. What is this initial cost for this water detector, leak system, right? I'm assuming we've got a sink there, right? I mean, how does this look, and what's the cost?
So there, as far as implementation, it's very simple, very straightforward. It's all plug and play, and this applies to all of our products. So with the water leak detector, it's battery operated. You get a notification when that battery hits 30% life, so you know when to replace it. But as far as installation, you can either use 3M sticky tape, which it comes with as a default, and you can stick that onto a wall, say behind the toilet. If it's going under the sink, you can place it there, and then there's going to be a cord, and then a little system. It's kind of like this big, where at the bottom there's two little metal prongs that are going to pick up the moisture that sits either on the floor, or say it's on a water heater inside that little catch plate inside there. And so it's just super easy to mount. And yeah, so as soon as moisture is detected, those alerts get sent out. Typical costs, obviously economy of scale kicks in with the quantity. I think they start out at like $30 a piece. So one thing that's important to note is that with any smart system that you're implementing, each unit will be equipped with a smart hub that connects any devices that you have within that home. And this applies to any smart apartment tech vendor that you're looking into. So that smart hub is going to sit out of sight, out of mind, and that'll allow the communication between the device and the tenant and PM apps.
Interesting. So yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I don't know if you know this, but this is more of a prop tech founders question. But where are you guys in? Because you said you're working with a few investors. I'm sure that's on the real estate side. But what about seed investors, right? Where are you guys at in your company in terms of serious investing? Have you guys raised your first round? How big are you guys getting? What's the traction on your business? I'm just curious. This is just a curious question.
No, I'm actually happy that you asked. I don't get this question a lot, so it's nice to be able to talk about it. So we were founded in 2016, and we're part of a bigger conglomerate of companies. So we're backed by $300 million in assets. We are seeking our next round of funding from our investors to push things forward. That's going to go towards product development, just supply chain, and keeping our economy of scale open so that we can service more at the best price that we can within the marketplace. So some of our sister companies, our parent companies rather, they're Lavoit, Kasori. These companies have been producing both smart apartment tech, and also just general home good appliances. So everything from smart plugs to smart lighting to air fryers, air purifiers, and all the sort. So because we've been around making these products for so long, and we have owned the supply chain for so long, we're able to keep our pricing very, very competitive within the marketplace.
Fascinating. So, for this systems or kind of this individual systems to all work in sync and then to also be integrated with other software and property management software. What are you guys seeing on that front? I mean, how has integration been? If somebody like me were to implement this in one of our assets, how easy is it for, your systems to integrate with our systems that we have in place?
So right now we are working on an open API. As it sits, we're just a closed ecosystem. And the reason for that is just because with a lot of third-party integrators, say you have the software system, and then you have like a Nest thermostat, GE lighting, like an August lock. What happens is you start to have connectivity issues. So when there are firmware updates, each product needs to be updated, and a lot of times the resident is having to do that manually, and the chances of that happening are very low. And so this is the biggest headache. If you look through product reviews for anybody in this space, the number one complaint is going to be connectivity. If your software provider doesn't update to their hub, but then say you don't update your Nest thermostat, those versions aren't compatible, and they're not going to speak. They're not going to speak to each other the way that they're supposed to. And that can come in a number of different forms of headaches. But then you have your residents reaching out to the leasing office saying, "Hey, what the hell's going on? Why isn't this connecting?" And so we try and mitigate that by having just an in-house ecosystem. So we'll look what you have in place, see if it makes sense to switch systems or not, and we'll just be open and transparent with you as far as cost, as far as the system that you have, and just go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So if I'm an investor, maybe I'm quite curious to see what you guys can do for me to see how you can help me raise NOI. If folks are listening to us right here, what would be the first step for them, right? They know about what you guys are doing. What's that first step, and how does that look like?
So typically what I like to do is just go project by project. So, if you've got a property, whether you're underwriting a property or you have an existing asset that you're thinking about implementing on, we just want to talk about that one property. See what you have on there, see what you're thinking about. I like to ask what class that asset is. If you've got a C class asset, you're probably not going to implement some of the more robust systems. I mean, something like a smart lock would be great for like a garden style apartment. So I like to get those kind of details because I don't try to pitch a cookie cutter package to everybody. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's just consulting about the size of the property, what type of property it is, the neighborhood that it's in, and what your goals as far as NOI are, and then working backwards from there.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So we're definitely doing into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick questions, quick answers. You ready, Kyle?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What makes you unique or Arise unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl or from you from the next app?
I guess on a personal business note, in the same regard, I'm just trying to speak with a lot of investors. Investing in multifamily is something that I plan to do in my future, this year specifically. So in networking, I have a true vested interest in, learning what I know about smart tech and what it can do for investment properties and applying that because I'm going to be doing it myself. And so I've carved out that little niche for myself and working with investors to show that. And then with Arize, it's just we manufacture, design everything in-house. We're the only ones in the market that do that. So
I really like that. US made. So that's pretty awesome. Or do you guys actually send it to somewhere in Asia, or you guys actually make everything in the US?
so everything is designed in Anaheim. Our headquarters is in Anaheim, and our supply chain goes throughout China. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Awesome. So, next question. What is the last book that you read, and what was the one thing you picked out from that book?
The last book I read is actually Ishmael, um, and by Dan Quinn. What I picked up was just it's more about just a circle of life. I mean, sustainability is a big thing in that book, and he does a great job in explaining that in a really odd philosophical way. So I'd recommend it to anybody that's listening.
Interesting. I don't think I've heard that one before. Final question. Obviously, you're working at a prop tech company, so I'm sure you guys are moving fast, breaking things. Things are pretty going at a fast pace. What do you do for fun, or what do you do to decompress?
Oh man, I'm a huge adrenaline junkie. So anything from hopping on a motorcycle to jumping out of a plane. I love surfing. Arizona has a lot of hikes, so I get out as much as I can. It's been in the 70s all week, so I'm outside as much as I can be.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So if folks are like, oh, maybe I want to check out, this app, I want to check out Rise, how's the best, what's the best place people can reach out, get to know you more?
Definitely just hit up my LinkedIn, check out arisehub.com for any info there. And then, I'm super responsive on LinkedIn. I can always shoot my meeting link calendar. So, people can get something scheduled to just have a quick chat.
Awesome, Kyle. Really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.